I'm here today at the Open Garden Squares weekend in London to find out a little bit more about how people are using vacant urban space and land to grow fruit and vegetables right in the heart of the city. Capital Growth is a partnership initiative between London Food Link, Mayor of London Boris Johnson and the Big Lottery's Local Food Fund to create 2,012 new community food growing spaces in London by the end of 2012. From developing disused waterways and housing estates to encouraging more green roofs and walls, the scheme hopes to get more people involved in growing and eating healthy, locally produced and sustainable food. I met Seb Mayfield at the Regent's Park allotment garden.
We recently reached our halfway stage and we've now surpassed that, so we're now supporting 1,039 projects I think across London. There's over 35,000 people involved. One of the major benefits of these projects is the community cohesion and the social cohesion. So a resident group who have come together on a housing estate or in a road and created a community food growing project. Any area is possible to be used to grow food on, so there's a couple of projects that are floating allotments on the canal. Have been working with Transport for London. If their unused land is available, then trying to make that land in use for community groups. Allotments don't necessarily provide the answer these days. We know that there are massive waiting lists for allotments, especially in London. Community food growing projects are good answers to that.
One of Capital Growth's most adventurous food growing developments is the Skip Garden, a mobile allotment hidden away behind King's Cross Central Station on a temporary building site. Created by sustainability education charity Global Generation, the rows of beautifully decorated construction beds are now flourishing with mountains of the most colourful fruit and veg, a fantastic example of organic urban horticulture in the smallest of spaces.
The developer gave us 6 skips, which means that I was able to separate out the functions of the garden to use it as a training garden for people and especially kids. It also means that when this site is ready to be developed, we can pick these skips up and move them to another site. My job is to show people that you can grow in hard places. I mean, most people seem to have this idea, the sort of good life where they have a big garden, lots of space. And actually what I'm trying to show here, if I can do the diversity of growing here, people can do it in the smallest London garden. A good reason to grow organic vegetables is to get people, Londoners, to actually have a link into the seasons. Most urban people are desperate to learn, but there's been a break in the link of education. So I think we've got to bridge that gap, and it's through education.
And it doesn't stop there. At Farm Shop in Dalston in East London, 3 young food enthusiasts are using some of the latest food growing technologies to test just how much can be grown in a condensed urban space. The old building has quite literally been transformed into the world's first farm in a shop, with a hydroponic fruiting room, fish farm, polytunnel, vertical allotments growing up the walls, chickens on the roof and a self-sustainable cafe.
We wanted to explore the limits of growing food in an urban environment. We're all interested in if we can bring food closer to home, get more people interacting with it. If you live in a rural area, you're used to food growing, you know, it's part of your daily existence. I think in the city, you're that bit further away. We are currently growing through a number of different techniques. We've got aquaponics, which is combining fish farming and food growing, hydroponics, which is of course a way that much of our lettuce is now grown in the UK. So we've got lots of different experiments going on to find out how we can grow food. If you look at the replication of industrialised farming techniques in the countryside, which are increasingly not that reliant on soil and not that reliant on even the sun sometimes, but those systems might as well be replicated in the city. I think what you've got to be really careful about is you're not replicating systems which are very energy intensive. So things like aquaponics, where you're combining the waste sources in a city to produce heat for food growing, those sort of things have got huge potential. And there's so many empty buildings around which maybe aren't appropriate for industrial use. Why not use those for agriculture?
Well, some of the projects that I've seen today just prove that if you put your mind to it, you can use just about any space in the most innovative and creative ways to grow just about anything.